Shalom, family. This is Judah. I know that I had said that I was done, but I'm back. So I want to talk about the topic today. The events today are prophecies of yesterday. They're being fulfilled in our very eyes right now. And I'm hoping to show that, I'm hoping to provide you the proof beyond any errors of understanding. But first, let me apologize for the video that I said I was done. Let me make something clear. The guy that I mentioned that left a particular comment, he was just a trigger. There was a lot of things going on in the background. I'm not going to go through all that stuff, but it was a lot going on right here with the landlord, the house, and a few other things. We're going through, me and my wife both are having a lot of dental work done. So it's eating into our budget. It's a little scary, but we're going to make it. So the events today are prophecies of yesterday. So I'm going to start out by showing you enemies of the United States. These are the most recent list of who are those that are considered potential threat or enemy of the United States. Iran, Syria, Iraq, Libya, Somalia, Pakistan, Russia, and North Korea. Now, just these lists that I've just shown you, I want y'all to think just for a minute about all the stuff that's happening right now. Each one of these countries that I've shown you up here is actively involved with all the crap, all the wars, all the conflicts. I'll tell you what this is all about in a minute. Now, here's a list of the United States allies starting from 1949. United Kingdom, France, Italy, Canada, Netherlands, Belgium, Portugal, Denmark, Norway, Luxembourg, Iceland, Turkey, Greece, Germany, Spain, Poland, Czech Republic, Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, Slovakia, Lithuania, Slovenia, Latvia, Estonia, Croatia, Albania, Montenegro, and North Macedonia. So I'm showing you this list of both enemies and allies because I want you to put these pieces together with what's going on right now. And hopefully you're going to see just how close we are to this. Y'all take a good look because many of us are going to see this. Okay, so I'm sounding the alarm. Don't get it twisted. I'm not telling anybody to leave, and I'm not telling anybody to stay. Definitely, I'm not telling anybody to stay. But I'm hoping that once you see the evidence all based on scripture, that you will make a much better decision. The destruction of the end time of Babylon. In the Bible, the story of Sodom and Gomorrah tells of two cities destroyed by the Creator with brimstone and fire due to their extreme wickedness, which is often interpreted as a reference to their inhospitality and sexual immorality. Now, the Creator spared Lot, who was a righteous man living in Sodom, along with his family, who were, and please pay attention, who were warned to flee. So I'm going to stop here for a minute because, like I said, I'm going to take my time going through this because I want you to really feel the impact of prophecy and scripture. Lot and his family were warned to flee. Now, the reason I'm pointing this out is because I can't count how many people, when I was giving out the messages and lessons about fleeing Babylon, that forsaken country called America, many of them said, I'm not going anywhere. This is my home. We were here before them. Well, that's another story within itself, but let me just touch on that. Let me explain to you what it means or how misinformed you are. We're going to go to 2nd Baruch, chapter 4, verse 27. I didn't bother to put this on the screen. And verse 2, this is the Creator, the Most High, speaking with Baruch concerning the land. And he asked Baruch, do you think that this is that city of which I said, on the palms of my hands have I graven you? This building now built in your midst, and listen close, is not that which is revealed with me. What is he talking about? The Most High foresaw all of this stuff that we're seeing unfolding today. And what Baruch didn't know was he had already prepared a land. Now, people who came out of Christianity and those that are still in Christianity, when they hear this, they immediately think about Revelations chapter 21 and verse 2, when it speaks about the New Jerusalem. But if you want to know where the New Testament got the information that they tried to make look authentic, go to Ezekiel chapter 30. Let me make sure I'm telling you right. Go to Ezekiel chapter 40 through 48, all 8 chapters. I would add that to this lesson, but it's very long. I want y'all to go to Ezekiel chapter 40 through 48. And if that don't tell you that Revelation 21 and verse 2 plagiarized, they got the information from the book of Ezekiel. But about that land, let me finish. He says, this building now, built in your midst, is not that which is revealed with me. That which prepared beforehand here from the time when I took counsel to make paradise, and showed Adam before he sinned. But when he transgressed the commandment, it was removed from him. So Adam couldn't spread this information down to his descendants because it was all removed. But the preparation for the new land was being in reserve. So this land that these imposters that call themselves Israelis, that's not the land we're going back to. As you just heard in 2nd Baruch, chapter 4, verse 2 and 7, 2 through 7, there's a land prepared for us being held in reserve. That's going to be the new Jerusalem. Back to the lesson. And by the way, I took a lot of notes because most of the time when I do these lessons, I always get the feeling that I'm leaving something out or forgetting to tell you something. And in most cases, that's the way it was. I always forget something. So I'm taking notes. And I'm going to try to make sure that I'm consistent, precise, and I'm going to try to make sure that I explain this in a way where you can get it. All right, so Lot and his family was warned to flee. What would have happened? What would have happened if Lot and his family didn't flee? Think about that just for a second. They would have been destroyed, right? I mean, there is no question about it. Why would you warn somebody to get out unless they were going to be destroyed along with that forsaken city or those cities? Y'all think about that. He told Lot and his family, do not look back as the cities were destroyed. Why did he tell them not to look back? When Lot's wife disobeyed that commandment and she turned to look back, it was because her heart was in those cities. She had friends there. As sinful as they were, she called them friends. To me, this is telling you, you really need to be careful who you make your friends. But when she looked back, what happened to her? She was turned into a pillar of salt. So when you flee from a land that we were commanded to flee from, don't look back. Don't regret anything, and don't wish that you could have stayed. This story is found in the book of Genesis, where the Creator reveals his plans to Abraham and allows Abraham to plead for the cities. He allowed Abraham to make these pleas to save whatever few that he hoped could be found righteous. But the Creator already knew that he wasn't going to find any righteous people in those cities, which is the reason Lot was told to flee, get out, or you go with them. The inhabitants, but ultimately finds no righteous people there to warrant their salvation, just like the Creator already knew. Abraham couldn't find one single person that was righteous. The prospect that such a terrible scene of death and destruction will be repeated again on a much larger scale is almost too much to bear. Sometimes we have to pick up the ash and rub it between our fingers to get the full impact of a story we have all grown accustomed to and the prophecies of the things to come. So I prepared a brief preview of the coming destruction of end time Babylon. According to the prophetic scriptures, the youngest, most wealthy, and mightiest nation on the earth will suddenly be attacked from the north. I took the liberty of making sure that I showed you who these people are coming from the north that's going to make this attack. And they will be left in smoke and smoldering ashes in just 1 hour. Y'all, this prophecy is talking about America. You're going to get the full picture. I'm not going to rush through it. But they will be left in smoke and smoldering ashes in just 1 hour. Who are these nations from the north? Ezekiel chapter 38, the Creator foretold that in the latter days there would be a major military attack against the state of Israel and the homeland once Israel would be restored. Now again, I need to stop here and help you see what's going on with this, because most people that I've encountered concerning this particular event get confused. They think that it's talking about us. So let me make it clear. The restoration of Israel happened in 1948 when the Rothschilds purchased that land that had been destroyed. Yeah, it was decimated. It was desolate. It was nothing. The Rothschilds purchased that land. I believe it was the early 40s, and it took them until the year of 1947, I think, to seal the deal, the purchase. So in 1948, they started bringing all the Ashkenaz, the converted Jews, to that land. The restoration began when the Rothschilds and the Bilderbergs and a few others chipped in to restore that land. How did they do that? They planted millions of trees. In fact, they went according to the scriptures in the Torah. They used that as a guide. This is the reason why when you fly over to Israel, it looks, according to scripture, like the previous land before it was destroyed. Yeah, they went through a lot. But that was the so-called restoration of Israel. And so this could not be talking about Jacob. Because we know we're not there. So it's no way possible this could be talking about us. It's talking about the imposters. That will become clearer in a little bit. And the Creator indicated that a military attack would be comprised of armies of 6 nations. These are the nations from the north, as they were known back in Ezekiel's day. 5 of those nations are named by the Creator in Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 5 and 6. Now in verse 5, the first nation was Persia. Now that's what it was known as in Ezekiel's day, but modern day Persia is now, check this out, y'all, the nation of Iran. Does that ring some bells? There's a lot of tension right now between Israel, the U.S., and Iran. It's about to go down, y'all. This was some 2,500 years ago through this prophecy. The Creator was saying that in the end times, Iran would be sending military forces against Israel in the Middle East. Now, you know what happened to Iran a little more than 20 years ago, maybe longer, when radical Muslim forces overthrew the Shah of Iran, and they've been dominating the nation of Iran ever since. That radical Muslim government of Iran has publicly declared more than once that its ultimate goal is the annihilation of Israel from the Middle East, and it will happen. The second nation named in verse 5 is Ethiopia. Now, again, that's what the nation was known as in Ezekiel's day. But let's point out that that nation today that was known as Ethiopia in Ezekiel's day is not the same nation that we know as Ethiopia today. The nation known as Ethiopia in Ezekiel's day is the nation that we know of today as Sudan. Sudan right now, again, is dominated and ruled by a radical Muslim government that hates Israel with a passion, and they want Israel destroyed. The third nation, named in verse 5, is Libya. Libya is located due west of Egypt in North Africa. And you know what was going on in Libya in the past recent years under the leadership of Muammar Gaddafi. Gaddafi was very anti-West. And who could blame him? Anti-American. Before I go any further, y'all, let me tell y'all something. Have y'all ever wondered why that country labeled us as an American? African American? Let me give you a brief story about Cain and Abel. When Cain killed his brother Abel, the Creator put a mark on him. That mark was a label that anybody that would run up on Cain would not kill him. All right? That was a label. Now, America have done the reverse, the complete opposite. But yet, they labeled us just like Cain was labeled. Only the way they labeled us tied us to them. By calling us African Americans, the other nations don't see any difference. So when they come to invade that land, it doesn't matter to them what color you are. They're only looking for Americans. And on your birth certificate, it does not call you a Hebrew. It doesn't call you an African. It doesn't call you an Israelite. It calls you an American, and they are coming to kill Americans. You see how they drug us into their mess? They were making sure that in case they couldn't get rid of all of us, the other nations would. You talk about evil. That's as deep as evil goes. But even more strongly, anti-Israel. He would have liked to have seen Israel destroyed from the Middle East. But we know Gaddafi was assassinated by the Obama administration. I might get struck down for that. The fourth nation named in verse 6 was Gomorrah. In Ezekiel's day, Gomorrah was a tribal group of people who were located in the central part of what we know today as the nation of Turkey. What appears to be a full-scale nuclear war between two end-time nations, which will annihilate approximately one-third of the Earth's population, probably the entire northern hemisphere. There is, I think, 9 billion people on the planet as of this day. That means 300 million, one-third, 300 million will meet their demise through nuclear war. And cause the earth to trigger the pains of nuclear winter and fallout. The Old Testament prophets even describe the earth reeling through space like a drunkard as the earth is apparently jolted off its orbit. Remember Isaiah chapter 24, verse 20? Let's read it. This verse reads, "The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and shall be removed like a cottage." It's going down, y'all. The Creator presented the details that are before us for a reason, and we should not ignore that which He has made so clear. I will list the scriptures that speak of the future destruction of the daughter of Babylon, beginning with Jeremiah chapter 50 and 51. Jeremiah chapter 50. The Creator spoke against Babylon. The destruction of end-time Babylon will come at the direct command of the Creator, the Most High. The word that the Most High spoke against Babylon and against the land of the Chaldeans. Do y'all know who the Chaldeans are? They are the Roman Catholic. Yeah, look the word up. They are the Roman Catholic Church and the Roman Catholic people. He spoke against Babylon and against the land of the Chaldeans by Jeremiah the prophet. Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 1. It's interesting in the verse that the Creator pronounced judgment on Babylon and the land of the Chaldeans. This may be an indication that His judgment will not only fall upon Babylon, whom we have identified as a mighty end-time world power, the youngest of nations and center of commerce, but His judgment may also be directed against the land of the Chaldeans. The historic era of ancient Babylon, which is in Iraq. That's right. The ancient Babylon, this is what's going to happen. When this destruction comes, even though the ancient Babylon was destroyed earlier, it's going to be destroyed again, removing any trace of their existence. And the American Babylonian country, right along with it. The prophets often wrote with local and distant implications, just as they prophesied of contemporary and future events. I'm still sounding the alarm. The message of Babylon's doom is to be published to the nations. Declare among the nations and publish and set up a standard. Publish and conceal not. Say, Babylon is taken. Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 2. There must be an urgency to warn the nations of the coming judgment. And that's what I'm trying my best to do. I, for one, am so prone to keep words of doom and gloom to myself. I don't like the teachings of doom and gloom, but you know what? It is what it is. But the Most High, the Creator of light, would have all of us warn others of impending darkness and the hope of salvation. And we don't have to be hateful in the way we warn people in our modern world of the coming judgment by presenting the message of the Most High's righteousness and the coming wrath. In fact, if the message of the prophet does not break our hearts, there is something terribly wrong with all of us. This was the heart of the psalmist when he declared, "They that sow in tears shall reap in joy. He that goeth forth and weepeth, bearing precious seed, shall doubtless come again with rejoicing, bringing his sheaves with him." Psalms 126, verse 5 to 6. This entire message has been a heavy burden on my heart for some time now. And I present it with sadness for those who are not ready. Now, about the attack from the north. The attack against the end time Babylon will come from the north. From out of the north there cometh up a nation against her, which shall make her land desolate. America is going to be totally destroyed. You cannot survive a land that is totally destroyed. And none shall dwell in it. Nobody's left. They shall remove themselves, listen, they shall remove themselves. What does that mean? Flee. Get out. Don't be scared to leave just because that's the only thing you're familiar with. It's going to cost you. They shall remove themselves. They shall depart, both man and beast. Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 3. Verse 9 of this chapter reasserts the same declaration. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country. It's interesting that Gog of the land of Magog, the king of Russia, has been described by the prophet Ezekiel as coming from thy place out of the north parts, thou and thou many peoples with thee. Is not Russia and the U.S. about to get it on? Did y'all not hear that Trump vowed they are going into Ukraine? Remember when they said Ukraine would never be a part of NATO? Well, let me just clear that up for you. The weapons that the U.S. sent, all the military personnel that the U.S. sent, trust me, Ukraine is NATO. And what did Putin say? If Ukraine became a part of NATO, it was going to be game over. Here we go. Ezekiel 38 and 15. Wholly desolate. The attack from the north would devastate the land of Babylon. For out of the north there cometh up a nation against her, which shall make her land desolate, empty, destroyed, desolate. Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 3. The destruction is so thorough pay attention now. The destruction is so thorough that any surviving men and animals will flee in utter panic. Should have fled already. Most of us cannot even imagine such a dreadful day of calamity. The verses 12 and 13 add to this descriptive fury. The hindermost, that means the youngest, of the nations shall be a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert. Because of the wrath of the Almighty, it shall not be inhabited, but it shall be wholly desolate. Now, this is a horrific and graphic picture of total, complete destruction. Wholly desolate. Remember Ground Zero at the devastated site of the Twin Towers was just that, wholly desolate. Missiles right on target. The taking of Babylon sounds like a preempted missile attack, as we learn from Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 9. Listen up. From the north country, they shall set themselves in array. From there she shall be taken. Their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. They are going to hit the targets. Arrows like missiles are launched from one place to another. This is the picture the prophet was apparently painting for us. The sudden attack from the north will be so effective that none of the arrows will miss their mark. Y'all better hear me. There will be no deterring this massive airstrike as it descends suddenly from the north. The Creator often uses one ungodly nation. Check it out, y'all. The Creator, the Most High, often uses one ungodly nation to bring judgment on another. Ooh. For example, the ruthless and wicked kingdom of ancient Babylon under King Nebuchadnezzar was used to bring chastening upon the sinful people of Jerusalem. Y'all read the story. The vile and cruel Assyrians were also used to disperse the 10 tribes of northern Israel, just as the Most High had warned. Shocking beyond belief. The destruction of Babylon will shock the nations. Everyone that goeth by Babylon shall be appalled and hiss at all of her plagues. Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 13. We are often shocked at televised images of death and destruction from natural disasters, but nothing will match the aftermath of these coming days of utter ruin. The entire world will be stunned at the sudden devastation and aftermath of continuing death and suffering. Everybody is going to get a glimpse. The sound of the battle. A sound of the battle is in the land of the great destruction. Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 22. How incredible that the prophets were given this kind of insight thousands of years before weapons of mass destructions were even invented. The earth is moved. Whatever this sound of battle is, it must be extremely great with awesome power. Because we read in Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 46, at the noise of the taking of Babylon, the earth is moved. And the cry is heard among the nations. The weapons that the Most High called against Babylon and Magog will be so great that the earth will apparently and literally be moved out of its orbit. Y'all listen, man. If y'all can't put two and two together, if y'all don't see what I've shown you in the beginning of this video, all the countries lined up, all of them mentioned in prophecy, come against Babylon and Israel. This is right on point. And it's happening right now. The whole earth will literally be moved out of orbit. That's devastating. Can you imagine this? Isaiah chapter 13 and verse 13 adds to this terrible image of the worldwide terror. I will shake the heavens, and the earth shall remove out of its place. Again, Isaiah 13 and 13. In the wrath of the Most High of hosts, and in the day of his fierce anger, Isaiah also declared, the earth is utterly broken down. The earth is thoroughly dissolved. The earth is moved exceedingly. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and shall be removed. Isaiah 24, verse 19 to 20. Many cities destroyed. According to the prophet, many cities will be destroyed during this time of international, it's going to be happening all over the globe, international calamity. And the proudest shall stumble and fall, and none shall raise him up. And I will kindle a fire in his cities, and it shall devour all around about him. Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 32. Does this sound like the devastating power of nuclear warfare? Now add to this the words of Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 43. Her cities are a desolation, a dry land and a wilderness, a land in which no man dwelleth, neither doth any son of man pass by it. Let me share something with y'all real quick. I want to go to Amos chapter 9, starting at verse 1. I think I'm going to read down to verse 10. I may touch on 11 and 12. So let's start at verse 1. This is Amos chapter 9, verse 1. I saw the Creator standing by the altar, and he said, now why am I reading this? I want y'all to understand what I tried to show you just a little bit earlier about we're not in the land of Israel where the impostors are. And this will prove what I said, that it is not us that scripture's talking about, but it's talking about them. So listen up. I saw the Most High standing by the altar, and he said, strike the tops of the pillars so that the thresholds shake. Bring them down on the heads of all the people. Those who are left I will kill with the sword. Not one will get away. None will escape. Though they dig down into the depths below, bunkers. Though they dig themselves bunkers. Though they dig down to the depth below, from there my hand will take them. There is no place to hide They can't hide. Though they climb up to the heavens above. You know they got space stations, right? They got space stations. See, they know what's coming. They know what's coming. And they think that they're getting prepared for it. They know what's about to happen. Though they dig down to the depth below, from there my hand will take them. Though they climb up the heavens above, from there I will bring them down. Though they hide themselves on the top of Carmel, there I will hunt them down and seize them. Though they hide from my eyes at the bottom of the sea, there I will command the serpent to bite them. Though they are driven into exile by their enemies, there I will command the sword to slay them. I will keep my eye on them for harm and not for good. The Most High, the Almighty, he touches the earth and it melts, and all who live in it mourn. The whole land rises like the Nile, then sinks like the river of Egypt. He builds his lofty palace in the heavens and sets its foundations on the earth. He calls for the waters of the sea and pours them out over the face of the land. And the Creator is his name. Are not you Israelites the same to me as the Cushites, declares the sovereign Creator? Did I not bring Israel up from Egypt, the Philistines from Capsa, and the Arameans from Kir? Surely the eyes of the sovereign, mighty Most High are on the sinful kingdom. I will destroy it from the face of the earth. What is he talking about? Jerusalem, Israel, today's Israel. I will destroy it from the face of the earth. So we can't go to a place that has been removed from the earth, right? So we cannot be going back to that land. This land is going to be destroyed. All right, let's go back to the beginning when I told you about that the Creator had built a paradise beforehand, that he showed it to Adam. This is when he was talking to Baruch. Go back to Baruch, 2nd Baruch chapter 4, read verses 2 to 7. I will destroy it from the face of the earth, yet I will not totally destroy the descendants of Jacob, declares the Most High. So he's not talking about us, people. Some of us are going to go. Some of us who are too hard-headed, too stubborn, too willing to be scoffers and mockers, they won't make it. For I will give the command, and I will shake the people of Israel among all the nations, as grain is shaken in a sea. And not a pebble will reach the ground. For all the sinners among my people will die by the sword. All those who say disaster will not overtake or meet us. Y'all be careful with your words. There was something else I wanted to tell y'all. Let me go through my notes real quick. Y'all bear with me, because like I said, I want to make sure that I cover everything. I want y'all to really get a really good understanding of this day that we're living in right now. And by the way, y'all, I can't find it. By the way, for those of you who think that we're only being punished for idolatry, let me just interject something real quick. We're not just being punished for idolatry. We're also being punished for contaminating our DNA. And not a whole lot of people talk about that, but we're not supposed to mix with other nations. We're supposed to take our wives and our husbands from our kindred. You know, people from our own tribe. I know a lot of y'all know that, but a lot of us don't. So I'm going to go back to the lesson. I was here. Add to this the words of Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 43. Her cities are a desolation, a dry land, and a wilderness, a land in which no man dwelleth, neither doth any son of man pass by it. Just like Sodom and Gomorrah. Y'all know history has a funny way of repeating itself. Doesn't have to be the exact same way. But boy, all the I's and T's dotted and crossed are there. Babylon will be left in ashes just like Sodom and Gomorrah, as the prophet proclaimed. As the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah and their neighboring cities, 5 of them to be exact, saith the Creator, so shall no man abide there, neither shall any son of man dwell in her. Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 40. The Holy One of Israel declared that the destruction of end-time Babylon will be total and complete. Total and complete. Just like Sodom and Gomorrah. There was nothing and nobody left in Sodom and Gomorrah. Panic. The knowledge that such an attack is forthcoming causes the leader of Babylon to panic. As we read in Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 43, the king of Babylon hath heard the report of them, and his hands become feeble. Anguish took hold of him, and pains as of a woman in travail. Can you imagine the stress upon a leader who is aware of classified documentation of a forthcoming attack? They know it's coming, y'all. Jeremiah chapter 51. Destroying winds. Little more needs to be said. We already get the picture of total devastation. But the Most High continues with the terrible description of Babylon's day of judgment and utter destruction. Thus saith the Almighty, behold, I will raise up against Babylon and against those who dwell in the midst. Oh my goodness. Y'all know I got to read that again. Listen, for all of y'all that don't think you have to go, I'm not telling you to go or stay, but listen to this. Behold, I will raise up against Babylon and against those who dwell in the midst of those who rise up against me. A destroying wind. Jeremiah 51 and 1. We are all aware that one of the most destructive forces of a nuclear weapon is the incredible destroying wind. Who can deny that this ancient description would appear to be modern day weapons of warfare? Now, sudden destruction or sudden devastation. The destruction of Babylon will come suddenly. Nobody will have time to get ready for it. And there will be no time for protective measures. People, y'all, please listen. There will be no time for protective measures. Your preparation should be right now. When the Holocaust begins, there will be no time to run and no place to hide. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Jeremiah 51 and verse 8. Before the advent of our weapons of mass destruction, such a claim of total destruction in 1 hour seemed totally impossible. But in today's world, we know that such devastation can and will happen in a moment's time. No survivors. And Babylon shall become heaps, a dwelling place for jackals, a horror and a hissing without an inhabitant. Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 37. See also verse 39. It should be noted that ancient Babylon was not destroyed. Y'all pay attention now. This is evidence of a present day Babylon. So for those of you who think this is old prophecy about an old land, listen close. This is evidence of a present day Babylon. This is not talking about ancient Babylon. It wasn't destroyed like this. It was taken out without a shot when the Persian army, you remember Cyrus, right? Excuse me. When Cyrus came and took Babylon, it was taken without a shot. When the Persian army drained the Euphrates River and walked in under the walls of Babylon, the wicked king Belshazzar was assassinated, and the Babylonian Empire became the empire of the Medes and the Persians. The total destruction of Babylon, as prophesied, is a future event. Tsunami. This is the most amazing prophecy and certainly could not be referring to a rebuilt city out in the sands of Iraq. Remember, that's where Babylon, the original Babylon, was. The sea is come up upon Babylon. Here's the proof. She's covered with the multitude of its waves. Jeremiah 51, verse 42. Now, Hollywood makes movies about this type of disaster, and the ancient prophet Jeremiah spoke of this nearly 3,000 years ago. Can you imagine a huge tsunami wave coming in and wiping out a huge city like New York or some other ocean port? Think about that. Isaiah chapter 13. The entire 13th chapter of Isaiah is given as another solemn warning to end time Babylon, and is deserving of much deeper study than I can present here. It seems like the Creator repeats his warnings time and time again so that some of us will take his words seriously and warn others to escape by placing their faith in the mighty Most High who saves. There are no excuses for those who choose to ignore these clear warnings. I am sounding the alarm. From the end of heaven, they come from a far country. From the end of heaven, even the Almighty Creator, and the weapons of his indignation. Did y'all know Russia has missiles that he calls the indignation? Weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land. Isaiah 13 and 5. Russia has missiles called the indignation. Here's a look at it, y'all. That's just one of them. According to my research on this missile, it cannot be tracked, it cannot be diverted, it cannot be shot down, it cannot be stopped. Wow. The sudden attack against Babylon will apparently come as an airstrike from a great distance, and the entire land will be totally destroyed. This right here can do that. Wow. The day of the Creator, the timing of this destructive judgment is detailed in Isaiah chapter 13 and verse 6, where we read, "Well, for the day of the Almighty is at hand. It shall come as a destruction from the Almighty." The message is repeated for emphasis in verse 9. "Behold, the day of the Almighty cometh, cruel, both with wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate, and he shall destroy the sinners out of it." Any woman who has ever given birth will tell you that the pains of birth come suddenly, and they don't give any warning. In the middle of the night, often in the deepest of the sleep, the pains begin, and there is no turning over and no ignoring them. This is how the Most High describes the day of the Almighty. Much more could be said about the day of the Almighty, but one main observation is important in this brief lesson. The day of the Almighty is just the beginning of the Creator's direct intervention once again into the affairs of man and the people of Israel. Now that is talking about us. The day of the Creator marks the beginning of the tribulation, and it will come suddenly, and it will not be announced. That day will commence with a terrible night of suffering and destruction for those who are not prepared and are left behind. There is cause for great hope in the midst of all of this. A few shall escape this day of wrath. I will attempt to further develop this hopeful thought in this conclusion article, Darkness and Nuclear Winter. Isaiah seemed to be describing a nuclear missile exchange and the aftermath of nuclear warfare. For the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened in its going forth, and the moon shall not cause its light to shine. Isaiah 13 and 10. In the terrible aftermath of this nuclear nightmare, as multiple nuclear weapons are detonated, darkness and sub-zero nuclear winter will inflict additional suffering upon the survivors after the initial destruction of heat and wind. Other terrible and devastating effects of this kind of weapon continue to be felt for months and even years. This type of weapon and its terrible results are described again in Isaiah chapter 47 and verse 14. "Behold, they shall be like stubble. The fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of that flame. There shall not be a coal to warm at, nor fire to sit before it." I believe this passage is graphically describing the effects of a nuclear winter. Suddenly, when the atmosphere is destroyed by fire and the air becomes too thick to breathe, winter darkness descends upon those that escape the initial blast and fire. The survivors of such a nightmare may be the greatest victims. The unfortunate survivors. The Creator is so explicit in his description of coming destruction that he gives us a picture of nuclear radiation and its misery. Therefore shall all hands be faint, and every man's heart shall melt, and they shall be afraid. Pangs and sorrows shall take hold of them, and they shall be in pain like a woman that travaileth. They shall be amazed one at another. Their faces shall be as flames. Isaiah 13, verse 7 and 8. Imagine the utter panic that will fall upon the world when an all-out nuclear exchange takes place. There are no words that can fully describe the chaos and misery. People will be as rare as gold. In Isaiah chapter 13 and verse 12, it tells us that man will become rare in the aftermath of the destruction of Babylon. Y'all get this picture in your head. I will make a man more rare than fine gold, even a man than the golden wedge of Ophir. I can assure you that gold is extremely rare and very difficult to find. Even little nuggets hide themselves under rocks and sand in a gold pan, and only the discerning miner can find them. After the destruction of these mega nations, man will become as rare as gold. It is hard to imagine such a total devastation. And in my conclusion, the Most High is not a sadistic tyrant, anxiously awaiting the opportunity to cast misery upon mankind. He has expressed himself to all men, warnings of coming destruction, and are written because of the Almighty is a merciful Creator. He desires that all men everywhere will repent and turn to him for forgiveness, except those whom he swore to destroy completely. We know who they are. The only place of real peace and security in this desperate world is in the shelter of the wings of him who alone is the Creator. People, I need y'all to really understand. When I bring you videos of Ibrahim Traore, Burkina Faso, who's reaching out to us as we speak, if y'all take time out to realize this scenario that I just played out for you, it fits the prophecy. This is the perfect time for somebody to be sent on our behalf. Don't be paranoid. I know people that are paranoid. They're claiming the flag that they have, it's representing a crescent if you turn it sideways. I mean, there's all types of paranoia. This is an example of how destroyed we are as a people. This is the reason so many of our people won't make it out. So many of us are stuck in Stockholm Syndrome and indoctrination and idolatry. Get out of her, my people. Shalom.